What is a fraction? A fraction is simply a division problem. You can think about a fraction as having pieces of a chocolate bar. You have the numerator and the denominator. The denominator tells you how many pieces your chocolate bar is divided into. The numerator at the top tells you how many of those pieces you get for yourself. In a fraction, the denominator deals with equally sized pieces. So we're going to make a few equally sized chocolate bars so that we know what we're comparing each time. So let's say that we have the fraction 1/3, 1 in the numerator and 3 in the denominator. That means that the chocolate bar is cut up into 3 pieces for the denominator, and you get one of those 3 pieces, since 1 is the numerator. So I'm going to cut my chocolate bar into 3 equally sized pieces. One of those pieces would be 1/3. If I keep 2, that'll be 2/3. And if I keep all of the chocolate bar, I would have 3/3, or 1 full chocolate bar. So then if we have the fraction 2/9, that means that we have 9 equally sized pieces of a chocolate bar, and we're going to keep 2 of those pieces. That will look like this. I have 9 pieces, and I'm going to keep 2 of them. So in any fraction, the denominator tells us how many equally sized pieces we chop the chocolate bar into, and the numerator is how many pieces we keep for ourselves. You can see that 2/9 is less than 1/3 because the chocolate bar is smaller. Now, if we're talking about fractions that have big denominators but small numerators, you're talking about tiny pieces. If I have 1/10, I'm cutting a chocolate bar into 10 pieces, but I only get to keep 1. So that's going to look like one little piece over here. It's smaller than 2/9 and smaller than 1/3. Whenever I have a big denominator, the chocolate bar is cut into many pieces, so each piece is going to be very small. When we're adding fractions, we still have a chocolate bar cut up into equally sized pieces, and now we're getting more of those equally sized slices of the chocolate bar. So let's say we have 1/4 plus 1/4. I'm going to take 1/4 of this chocolate bar and 1/4 of another chocolate bar and put them together. I'm adding them together. So now we are going to have 2 slices of this chocolate bar split into 4 equally sized pieces. 2/4. 2 slices of 4 pieces total. Mathematically, 1/4 plus 1/4 is 2/4. The denominators stay the same because both chocolate bars were cut into 4 equal slices. But we add the numerators because we had 1 slice from one candy bar and 1 slice from another candy bar. 2 slices total. So let's try some problems. If I have 1/5 plus 3/5, it means I have 2 chocolate bars, both split into 5 equally sized pieces. So my new chocolate bar is going to be split into the same number of pieces, 5. But I had 1 slice from the first bar and 3 slices from the next bar, so altogether I have 4 slices. 4/5. 1/5 plus 3/5 equals 4/5. Now if I have 2/7 plus 8/7, both of my chocolate bars are split into 7 equally sized pieces, so I can keep that as my denominator. And for my numerator, I'm going to add the 2 slices I have of one to the 8 slices I have of the other. 10/7. Now if I have 4/3 and 2/3, again my chocolate bar is going to stay in 3 equally sized pieces. And I'm going to add the 4 slices I have to the 2 slices I have of the other. I get 6/3, or 2, since 6 divided by 3 is 2. Now what happens if I add 1/3 and 1/2? For 1/3 I have 3 equally sized pieces, but for 1/2 I have only 2 equally sized pieces. So I cannot add them together because they are not going to be the same size. We need to think of a way to make them the same. 1/2 means I cut a chocolate bar into 2 equally sized pieces and I get to keep one of them, like here at the top. 1/3 means I cut a chocolate bar into 3 equally sized pieces, so each of the pieces are smaller, and I keep one. They are clearly not the same size. What many people like to do when adding fractions is just add across. They say 1/3 plus 1/2 equals 2/5. That would mean that 1/3 plus a half would be the same thing as 2 pieces of a chocolate bar divided into 5 slices. If I compare these two things together, if I just take my 1/2 and add 1/3, it's that big. But 2/5 is only that big. The two sides are not equal to each other. 1/3 plus 1/2 does not equal 2/5. If we just add across, we get a number much smaller than what we should have ended up with. Instead, we need to think of a way to get 1/2 and 1/3 into equally sized pieces. In this case, I'm going to use 6 pieces because both 2 and 3 go into 6. So for 1/2, I'm going to split each of my 2 pieces into 3 pieces, and for 1/3, I'm going to split each of the 3 pieces into 2 pieces. In both cases, I'm going to have 6 equally sized pieces of my chocolate bar. Now each of these pieces represents 1/6, and we can see that 1/2 is the same as having 3 of 6 slices. 1/2 is 3/6. And 1/3 is the same as having 2 of 6 slices. 1/3 is the same as 2/6. The numbers are different, but the fractions are the same. Now I can add the fractions because I have the same number of slices in each part. So now I have 3/6 plus 2/6, giving me 5/6 in total. 3 out of 6 pieces was 1/2, 2 out of 6 was 1/3, and now I have 5 of those 6 slices. Mathematically, when I split my 1/2 into 3 pieces each, I multiply the denominator and the numerator by 3. And for 1/3, I split into 2 pieces each, multiplying the numerator and denominator by 2. This was so that both of my denominators would be 6. Then we can add together because we have equally sized pieces. Now, if I'm looking at 1/10 plus 3/5, I need to find a number that both 10 and 5 go into, since they are not the same denominator. 10 will work very well for this. For 1/10, I won't need to change at all, but for 3/5, I'm going to need to multiply both the numerator and denominator by 2, since 5 times 2 is 10. That will give me 6/10. Now the denominators are the same, so I can add together and get 7 out of 10. 10 equally sized pieces for all. Whenever my denominators are different, I need to find a number that both of them go into and then change my fractions. So if I have 1/4 plus 2/3, I know that both 4 and 3 can go into 12. 4 times 3 is 12, so I multiply 1 and 4 by 3. And 3 times 4 is 12, so 2 and 3 get multiplied by 4. That gives me 3/12 plus 2 times 4 is 8/12. Now I have the same size pieces of my chocolate bar, and I can add them together to get 11 out of 12 slices. So once more, when you're adding fractions, you need the same denominator. If you don't have that, just multiply and make it happen.